Hello and welcome to the HSE Half Hour. We are back. We've had quite a while off, haven't we, Laura?
I know, yeah. I hope you've all missed us. It feels like it's been ages. I'm really excited to be back. I've really missed doing these.
I wish that I could share the enthusiasm. I'm only joking. No, really good to be back. My name is Lauren. I'm Head of Client Engagement at Executive Network Group and HSE. Myself, my colleague Laura, who I'm sure that you all know. As mentioned, we're back. We've had some time away. We've had some really exciting changes here at HSE Recruitment Network. New branding, new website, and of course, our remuneration reports have come out. So that's what we're talking to you about today. So, over to you, Laura.
Yeah, like you said, hopefully most people will know who I am. But Laura Orcott, I'm an Associate Director for HSE Recruitment. So I've been here for 15 years this year. Can you believe that? That is terrifying. Yeah. So 15 years recruiting health and safety professionals. So this show, we talk about all things safety and recruitment, don't we? I'm coming to you from somewhere quite exciting today as well. Not a classroom.
Where are you?
Yeah, so I'm over at IOSH The Grange today. So cool. Yeah, they've very kindly given me a little room to come and speak to you guys. So I'm part of the IOSH Nominations Committee, which is a volunteer position, but basically it's a committee that looks after all the recruitment for key members in IOSH. So we're here talking today about plans for the future, all very exciting, but they've given me a half hour to dash off and come and speak to you all.
Take you back to it. No, that's cool. So I've been presenting this with yourself for how long now? I think
we did 2 years, you know. Yeah, 2 years. Crazy.
It's been a while, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Head of Client Engagement over at ENG and HSE Recruitment Network. I work closely with Laura and the team creating white papers, lots of research, trends, assisting on the events, all the good stuff. So we wanted to share this with our wider LinkedIn network. If you haven't joined us before, it's an interactive session, so please do ask any questions. I'll get to them as soon as the conversation allows. Just pop a comment on the box in LinkedIn and we can go from there. So for our first instalment, as mentioned, we've recently, even today we've put a report out, but this is focused on our health and safety remuneration report, which was published last week. Really keen to kind of get going with this, discussing all things salaries in safety. So a bit of an overview from yourself, Laura, if you can give us, what you've been witnessing in the safety market, current salary trends, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, this is hot off the press, this stuff. So the health and safety report went live last week. Like you said, our sustainability and environmental one went live today. We're talking specifically about the safety side of it today. But if you want either copy, I think Lauren will put a link in the comments and you can come and download it. But there was some really interesting stuff that came up in this report. We do them annually. It's always January or February. And, since COVID, we've seen salaries just go mental, haven't we? they were going through the roof. The inflation between sort of 2021 and 2022, and even carrying on into 23, 24 was pretty crazy. I mean, previously we were seeing after COVID, about 15% increase year on year in salaries. Last year, I think it was still at 8%. It was still pretty good. That's something that's changed, this year, and something we've definitely noticed anecdotally, but was backed up by the data in this report. There's been a real stabilization around those salaries. So we're not seeing those sort of crazy percentage increases anymore. So on average, the percentage increase was about 3.5% between last year and this year. So that's actually tracking behind inflation, which is quite interesting. And like I said, something that we did anecdotally feel from working with clients, but it's quite nice to have the data to back it up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So what I should mention is kind of how this report was put together. So by myself, but through surveys, it was sent through our database. It covers all salary ranges, but all levels as well, from advisor right through to kind of global VP of safety. It is UK-wide, but also this year, due to our Netherlands office opening, we have expanded that data set. So we've had respondents from both Netherlands and Belgium. So we've got nearly 3,000 respondents. We've got a real good data set that we've kind of reviewed. And as you say, average of about 3.5% increase in salaries. So what does this salary stabilisation mean for the market, Laura? What are you seeing in safety?
Interesting, because even though the salaries have stabilised, that hasn't really seemed to affect the marketplace. It's crazily buoyant for us at the moment. There are lots of people looking for health and safety professionals. That, in fact, I would say this is probably the busiest we've felt it in quite a long time, and that wasn't unexpected. We've been through periods of change before. Like I said, I've been doing this 15 years, and we've been through recessions and elections and all of that sort of stuff. So we kind of were expecting it. Health and safety is one of those industries that bounces back really, really quickly. And after the cost of living crisis and the election, it kind of came back almost instantaneously. So it's been really, really busy since end of last year. But because the salaries have stabilized, I think people are struggling to find the right sort of people. So what a lot of our clients are saying is, previously in the boom years, maybe after COVID, although they worked with us a lot, if they put an advert out, they'd probably get a decent amount of response. But now that's probably not the case. What's happening when they're putting adverts out is they may be getting lots of response, but they're not getting response from safety professionals. And that's what we expected. Because the salaries aren't increasing, people are nervous. They don't really want to move unless they're going to get a real bump in salary. It's that whole better the devil you know kind of situation. So I think that explains why we're so busy, because, that's the point of using an agency, is we go and we headhunt these people. We find people that aren't actively looking, and we explain to them why a certain role is such a good match and why it's something they'd want to look for. Whereas, if people are applying to adverts, they tend to just look at the cash side of things. So I think that's going to really continue. I think it's going to be a really tough year for people to recruit from advert alone. Just because there's nerves. There's nerves around people moving if they're not going to get that huge salary increase.
Yeah, we have seen it. So I know that you mentioned there kind of about people wanting to go upwards, not sideways. I think that is really important. So if I'm a client, safety, that's what I'm looking to hire into. I want to hire a safety professional. How do I best benchmark? And I think this is always a question that you probably do get asked, Laura. How do I kind of advertise or even, consult with agency like HSE Recruitment Network to these people, but not upset my current team, not upset the apple cart?
It's such a tough question. And you're right, we do get asked this all the time, because this is something we're definitely finding, and we'll drill down into the data around the different levels in a bit. But we're finding, particularly at the junior end of the market, that people are finding it hard because they're maybe bringing people in on salaries that are bigger than the current team are earning. And it's a really, really difficult position to be in, because budgets aren't endless. We get this, we get that you can't just give everybody a pay rise as much as you would like to. So it is a really tough position to be in. I think a knee-jerk reaction a lot of clients find is that they decide to just not put salaries on adverts. And that's not the right way to do it. And that's not what we'd advise to do. Salaries are still very important to people, but I mean, and obviously we would say this because of what we do, but my advice is you need to be working with a specialist. And that way they can help you navigate that. We're going to be attracting people that aren't in it just for the salary. We're going to be able to have those sorts of conversations with new incumbents, with people in the team. We can kind of give you that advice that you're not going to get if you go at it alone. But I get it's a tricky spot for people to be in at the minute.
Definitely. So, I mean, what have you seen around kind of client flexibility and hiring for potential? So I know that is, again, what you alluded to there. It's not always about that huge upward step. And as we've seen, we haven't witnessed that in the data. We haven't witnessed a massive spike in salaries where people can move for the same role but get a massive increase. So that does leave a limitation on clients. Tell me a little bit more about that, Laura.
Sure. I mean, I think we mentioned this last year when we were doing the salary surveys, because there was an uplift last year, but still not as big as previous years. It's even more relevant now. This is the time that we have to be hiring for potential. So it's a really, really good time for new people coming into the industry. It's a really good time for people wanting to take that next step, because what's traditionally happening is, we can see from the data, you've got an average salary for say a health and safety manager, and most clients are probably looking to pay that average salary. So what that means is they're not going to get someone to take a sideways step. The person that they want, who is the finished article, is already being paid that average salary. as a rule. So what we're definitely working with clients on a lot more is about looking for that potential and looking for those soft skills and the things that we can develop to make them the right person for the role. So yeah, if you're a newcomer in the industry, great time to get involved, because you can go in, you can sell yourself as someone who's got the right soft skills, because the technical side of it can be learned as you're going along. The soft skills are something that are a little bit more innate, and definitely a great time for someone to step up into a new position. If you are a really excellent senior advisor and you want to become a manager, this is the right time to be doing that, because clients, they're going to have to start thinking outside the box a little bit. So definitely, if you're someone who's in that position, what you need to be doing is looking at those jobs that you want to take and figuring out what the skills are that you have that they're looking for. So, you may not have been a manager previously, but have you got any of that sort of managerial, skills in terms of leadership, in terms of engagement? What are the things that you can bring to the table that will help you get that next step? So I think it's a really exciting time to be a safety professional. So that's good.
Definitely. It sounds it. So the one question that I didn't ask, Laura, we've talked there from a client perspective, but from a candidate perspective, job seeker perspective, if I'm to download this report today, I might be seeing, that salary is a little bit higher than mine. Again, these are all based on averages. How would I best position myself for a pay rise without moving jobs? What would you advise?
It's a really good question, and it's definitely something people should think about. When candidates come to us to talk about wanting to move on, it's actually the first question we tend to ask them is, have you had this conversation internally? Have you spoken to people to see if that pay rise, that promotion is there? I always think the best thing you can do is to go into a conversation backed with data. A lot of times people feel that they're underpaid, or they feel that they're not getting the recognition they deserve. And that's a very difficult place to argue from, a place of feeling and emotion. A simple place to argue from is fact. And that's where this sort of remuneration report will come in really, really handy. You can go in with that data and say, well, look, the averages are saying that most people are getting paid 3-4 grand a year more than me. This is everything that I'm doing above and beyond the job description. This is the sort of wages that I should be looking for. And we can't guarantee that every time you have that conversation, someone's going to say yes.
If only.
Unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that. But it's a very good conversation to have. It's not one that is going to be off-putting to the majority of leaders. Most companies are very open to having that conversation. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily looking. I think that's what people worry about, is that their employer will think that you're looking for something else. It doesn't mean that. It just means, look, I'm coming to you with data. Everybody knows what the rates of inflation are. Everybody knows what the cost of living is. So, they're probably surprised you're not having that conversation with them, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So, what I'll do now is I will share our report.
Cool.
So this is what we've kind of published last week. Hopefully everyone can see that, although I think we might have some tech difficulties. Always the way, isn't it? The first
always is in a live show. I know you can't be helped.
It's going to happen. So this is our health and safety report. It is extensive, as well as the salary matrix. It does have benefits data, and we collated diversity statistics as well. So this was for each level. We've got some cross data on there from cross sector, so a real good comparison. I always find it's interesting to see those high risk industries in comparison to public sector and what that looks like. Financial services is always a bit of an anomaly, getting great bonuses and things like that. So yes, let's talk I suppose data again. 2,500 respondents, 91% of these were UK based. Our European side, a little while to catch up, but some real good kind of stats from here, and a real good cross sector mix. So what should we start with, Laura?
Let's start with the advisors. Why not? We're right there, right? So let's talk about those. So you can see the data here. The way we break it down is obviously you have your minimum, your average salaries here, based on level of experience. So we've done for advisor 0 to 3 years experience, and then that 3 years plus. And it is a really interesting report. Obviously I would say that, but it's a fascinating report. I think although we said earlier about the salary stabilizing across the board, actually the advisors is still the area where they are having a bigger rise. That's the area that has continued to grow year on year on year. So, they are going up more than that sort of average 3.5% that we talked about. Which is probably causing quite a lot of problems, being honest, in the industry. What we're finding with a lot of our clients is that they want to hire really good advisors, but those advisors' salaries that they kind of need to pay now to get good people are almost commensurate with the manager levels. And that can cause that sort of potential internal conflict that we were talking about earlier. What do you do with internal teams and bringing people on different salaries? That's really, really difficult. Also, what we're finding as well is that means that clients, when they are looking for advisors, they've got really, really high expectations of what someone should look like for those salaries, because to them, those salaries are really big. So if they're not just expecting, someone with 0 to 3 years experience, they're expecting someone with 0 to 3 years experience who's absolutely going to blow your socks off. They're really going in with high expectations here. And I think that's going to be a continuous issue for the rest of the year. That I'm not entirely certain how we're going to solve it, other than that hiring for potential thing. Clients are just going to have to be much more open to the sort of things that they're looking at, to make sure they're getting good people.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure, as you mentioned, when we talk about upsetting the apple cart and salaries of external talent coming in, of course, you're always going to have to attract talent as well as retain it. It's a real difficult balance, but it's the conflict with the next level up, which, of course, is manager level. So I should point out that throughout the report, as always, London disparity is clear to see.
It is, yeah.
Across the 5 job titles, there's approximately a 7% difference with the London weighting, which I think is quite normal to see. So we'll move on to the manager level.
Yeah, sure.
So again, we've got the diversity stats here, and we ask around the kind of protected characteristics, just to understand if there's any correlation between each level and what that looks like. Again, still quite male heavy. I think it has changed, but there's a little bit of work left to do. So this, we did split this again into single site and multi-site, because again, we're finding that there is a difference. So over to you, Laura. What did you see? What have your kind of contacts been discussing at this level?
Yeah, so this manager level, this stuff wasn't a surprise at all. This is exactly what we expected to see. Like I said, we split between the single and multi-site. The reason being is that there usually is a difference in what clients are looking for in terms of experience, leadership skills, that sort of thing between the two. The average salary, for manager is around that sort of 58k kind of mark, but the top end was hitting that 65, 75k mark. The thing I thought was quite interesting is we always ask at every level, are you satisfied with what you're getting paid? And at this level, it was pretty 50-50, wasn't it? That half people thought they were getting paid well and half the people didn't. The thing that always sticks out to me is at the junior levels, they're the ones that always have dissatisfaction with the salaries. You look at the advisor level, most people say they don't think they're getting paid enough. Whereas the higher up the chain you go, the satisfaction levels rise. And I've been talking about this with clients this week, and I think potentially that could just be with, when you're in a senior role, we've been around a while, so we've seen the salaries, we know what they used to be. I mean, I remember when I joined HSE Recruitment 15 years ago, an advisor was 25k. So that it's come on so much from then. So I think senior people are just more conscious of where salaries have been previously, and the younger generation have just got a much higher expectation coming into.
Definitely. And from like the benefit side and what they just generally expect from a role now. I think in years gone by, their predecessors was very much like salary, maybe a car, this is what I take home, these are the hours that I work. But now it's a lot more holistic around well-being and how am I being treated as an employee. And I'm not saying that that's, wrong. I think it's great, but it also does reflect on the kind of salary expectations. And we did ask as well at each level, do these people expect their salary to rise in line with inflation for this year? So again, we've got a near split on the kind of on the stats here at manager level. I think most said kind of, well, half said yes, basically.
Yeah.
So no, it's quite interesting. So moving on, again, diversity stats. I will put the link in for you to download the report so you can review this at your own time, because it is very comprehensive, of course. So we're going to go head of now. And I know, Mike, I have seen your comment about summarising the differences. I think for this show, we're going to go through all the stats and potentially, I'm chucking Laura as the specialist here, but Laura can summarise thereafter in a comment, or if
that's fine. Yeah, no problem.
The team. So head of, what are your thoughts on this, Laura?
So I'm going to roll the sort of head of and director level together, although that's, quite a wide remit. I just think it's quite interesting at this level to talk about those diversity stats. The diversity bit is something I'm always really passionate about. And the data, I think, is very telling when we go through this. So like I said, download it and have a look at this data, because it is really, really in depth. But there's really notable disparities in the gender representation when you get up to that senior level. At the junior level, it's not that bad, to be honest. The junior level is fairly positive in terms of diversity stats. We find that most of it kind of tracks the most recent census data in terms of, not just gender, sexualities, ethnicities, all of that. But every year when we look at the leadership stuff, there is still just such a way to go. We looked at the gender pay gap again this year, which still exists at the senior level. So I think the gender pay gap came back as 6.9% at the head of level, which I think is still quite a big number, isn't it? Considering all the work that we've done with diversity stats. So particularly when you look at director level, that is still predominantly white male. That is just pretty much how it's always been. That's still how it is. We're not seeing the numbers change that much. So the industry is definitely doing really good things to invite people in from the junior level and to make it known that safety is a welcoming discipline and we accept everybody. But there is still a ceiling, it would appear, when it comes to those senior roles. And I've got to be honest, I'm not really sure what we do about it. But other than just keep talking about it, keep having these conversations, keep looking at the data. Obviously you've got your salary data as well for this head of and director level. Again, all the salaries are an average. And I think that's the biggest thing to bear in mind. If you look at the director level, the average, the bracket, for director level was pretty wide, wasn't it? Because director can mean something completely different in one company to another. So, a director in one company may be director in an SME, and they're at that bottom end of the salary, where you could also have a global director in a multinational corporation. So there is some quite big brackets there. So just bear that in mind with the averages. I think, like we said, the diversity thing is the most troubling thing for me here. What did we have at director level? Something like 22% female.
24% female, so there was 2% more than last year.
Okay, that's better.
There's a little bit going on there, a little bit of a positive movement. But again, I think, as you've said, it's difficult, isn't it? We are seeing a hell of a lot more diversity at that kind of coordinator, advisor, even to manager level, we're seeing that. But it's just at that real senior end, we're not. And I do think
they'll need a big push. Yeah,
definitely. But it's heading in the right direction. I'd say only 2% difference, but
it's 2% in the right direction. Exactly, like you said.
Yeah. So as mentioned, we have got the average salary. So all of the salaries have been worked out as an average. And we've got here, the differences between the sectors that we've kind of surveyed. So construction, manufacturing are top in this really. Yeah. And energy and utilities, I think, kind of to be expected. Logistics, road, kind of you talking your third sector, your healthcare, your education tends to be towards the bottom, kind of underfunded, really, let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's not unexpected. This is pretty much what we know anecdotally from working in the industry. It's always the higher risk sectors that have the higher salaries. So this just really tracks what we find day to day.
Yeah, definitely. We've got the salary data for the Netherlands and Belgium, again at each level, the kind of averages there, which quite interesting. Netherlands was coming out higher than Belgium. I think there's quite a few percent difference in what we're seeing.
that Netherlands Belgium piece as well, just before we move on, it's worth mentioning. So, we've always worked all across the globe, as we said, but we've got a lady called Siobhan now who is heading up our Netherlands and Belgium region. She actually worked for us 15 years ago and has come back into the fold. They never escape us, Lauren. So she's based in the Netherlands. So if anybody is in that region and wants to, talk about the salary data or anything like that, then get in touch with Siobhan and we'll put her details in the chat as well for you.
Yeah, perfect. And she has got an event coming up, hasn't she, as well?
She has actually, yeah, interestingly, around that diversity topic. So what we found, doing this work in Europe is there probably aren't necessarily the opportunities for networking and connections that we have in the UK as much. As I think they're potentially just a few years behind on that. Back in 2016, we obviously set up HSE Leaders Connect for the UK because at the time we didn't feel that existed in the UK, and now there's loads for you all to go and join in, but there doesn't seem to be much over there. So Siobhan and I will be in the Netherlands on March the 6th, and we're hosting a Women in Safety event. So this is the first, hopefully, event that we're going to be running, but first of many, and we're going to try and build that community, not just of women, but just that really good safety community. So yeah, definitely get in touch with me or Siobhan if you're interested in that sort of stuff.
Perfect. Good stuff. So as we kind of close our first instalment off, we have got, challenges of the future. This was written by Phil O'Neill. He's given some real great kind of pointers there. We've got the benefits data. And again, there isn't too much change, to be honest, from what I've witnessed here. Flexibility has been the biggest demand. So not as much remote work. And I appreciate a lot of health and safety professionals are on site, but flexibility in the way in which they work, whether it's hours, location, but that flex has really remained as a firm fixture there. On the wellbeing side, what we're seeing is quite a consistent trend of employee assistance programs. But I think from reviewing the data previously, health and safety professionals, they're having a lot more to do with wellbeing. So I think this could also be not just what they would like, but would probably be beneficial for their teams and stuff like that.
Point. Yeah, very good point.
Holistic point of view as opposed to just what they would like, probably to help them. Again, conclusion, get in touch. Please do download the report. Let us know what you think of the findings. Our sustainability and environmental report went live today. So again, same link, you can download our resources, get in touch with Laura or Siobhan if you're Netherlands or Belgium based, UK, everyone to Laura or anywhere else. And then we'll go from there. So it was great to be back. I think we've, fingers crossed, got there without a hitch.
Well, hopefully the technology is playing ball. Yeah, you never know with a live show, do you, if things are going to work?
We never know. So the kind of key takeaways I've taken from today is definitely to hire on that potential as opposed to just having a look going, I'm a little bit strung here with what certain advisors are asking for. It's to, ask for pay rises, utilize this report, go in and say, this is the average, what can I be doing before exploring? But what are we talking about next time, Laura? We've got a special guest.
We've got a special guest, next time. So if you join us next month, we're going to have Dr. Mark McBride joining us, who is fantastic. I absolutely encourage you to go check out his LinkedIn. He's got a great book out at the moment. He recently did a roundtable for us with our HSE leaders community, talking all about diversity in risk-averse industries. So he's very, very interesting. It's basically diversity and how we address it without leaving people out. So he's a very interesting guy. So definitely come along and check that out next month.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And again, report download link will be in the comments. We've got a brand new website, which I do encourage you all to check out. Reports, everything is hosted on that website now, so you can go have a look. You can watch all of our previous episodes.
If you're a sucker for punishment, they're all there. You can go and watch them all.
You're a top fan, you can go on there. No, but in all seriousness, our resources, blogs, upcoming events, everything is on that site, and of course job search. So get in touch, download the reports, let us know what you think, and thank you very much for watching / listening today.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks. Bye.